Well, thank you, Lindsay, for, is that working all right? For asking me yesterday afternoon as I was coming back from Taree to Newcastle. So I did this on my, anyway, so hopefully it's okay. So responsibility, I think it's absolutely and totally relevant to the whole Architects Declare movement. So firstly, I would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land on which we meet and pay my respects to elders and past, present and emerging, and thank you very much, Uncle Max and your nephew. We do have so much to learn. It is unbelievable how much we have to learn, and it's really time we did. So who am I? I think that we all need to understand our relationship to the land and how it has shaped us much more. I was actually born in Grafton on the banks of the mighty Clarence River up in northern New South Wales. When I was 3, we came to Sydney, and I was lucky enough to grow up around in the bushlands and beaches that surround the beautiful waterways of Sydney. And that is where I seek my refuge and regeneration when I need time, and that is what has shaped me, and I love swimming, and water is really important to me. So I think it is amazing that it is a young woman of about 15, 16, now 16 or 17, who has been able to make the breakthrough, the clarion call of the truth of what we are facing at the moment. And in amongst all this coronavirus, I still think actually climate change is even scarier than coronavirus. Coronavirus will probably be solved and figured, but we still have to face this thing. And I think that this summer that we have faced with the fires has given us a very real, very local face of what does climate change look like. It's not for someone else in another country, it's not for someone else in the future. It is this now, and this is only from a 1 degree change. And if we're looking at sort of 2 or 3 or 4 degrees, I don't know how it happens. And just in case you forget, you know, there are a whole lot of other climatic problems happening at the moment. The bleaching of the Great Barrier Reef, fish dying like you wouldn't believe in rivers, and droughts all over. I mean, and many, many other problems. So it's not just fires. So what can architects do? What should architects do? What should be our response? So just to kind of get a grip, this is from the UN, and it shows where the CO2 emissions are going, business as usual, where they need to be, and that huge gap. So why architects? Well, this is a global sector of where are the CO2 emissions coming? 28% from building operations and 11% from embodied energy. So we are kind of involved in 39% of CO2 emissions around the world, give or take a few. So what do? Well, along came Architects Declare. These fantastic guys in the UK said, we're not doing enough, we need to really do something really urgently. As of yesterday, they had 911 signatories. We followed up, they did that in March last year, we came along in July and started, and as of yesterday, we've got 869 signatories. And that's not 869 people, like I'm one of the signatories, but Cox Architects is one of the signatories. Wood Baggots with thousands of architects is another signatory. It represents thousands of people. And with the founding signatories, they are the major architects, and many of them are in this room, and thank you for signing up. They're the really important architects in this country and in the UK, and that is great because this is a big architectural problem that we are facing, and we need the best and smartest architects on the job. So what is it? But basically it is a very spontaneous, decentralised and non-hierarchical group. It's disruptive. It's not about being told what to do, it's about every single one of us who have signed up to work out what we can do and then collectively help each other do it faster. So it is a bottom-up approach to community-led change-making. The vision of the group, we're talking about this, is to empower architects to create a paradigm shift in our behaviour and take responsibility for action in our own lives in a way that creates buildings and cities that are no longer the problem, but a catalyst towards the regeneration of the planet, and so we can live in a constantly regenerating thing. Basically, we're looking to work out how the Indigenous people are one with nature, and we need to do the same and work it out how to translate that into our buildings. The mission is on the website, and it's quite a broad-ranging approach, which is great. And then there are principles of engagement. If anyone's interested, I can share this with you. So what now? What does that actually mean? How do we express our ability? And I think what Lindsay just said is so true, is what architects' really greatest skill is to respond really creatively to really complex, difficult problems that have a number of different parameters. And what we really need to do right now is understand that the parameters are that we've got to really substantially reduce our CO2 emissions really quickly and in beautiful ways that seduce everyone into understanding that's the way of the future. So we need to kind of go from architects declare like a call to action to decarbonising to professional things to political and transformative regeneration. So the call to action, first of all, become aware, sign up. And if you haven't signed up, please do and become part of the movement and help make it happen. So this year we decided, okay, get personal, let's do some stuff, some really quick things that we don't have to ask permission from any clients or councils or anyone. And driven by Jeremy McLeod from Breathe Architecture, thank you, let's do 3 short, sharp actions. Go 100% green energy by the end of January, and over 500 architects profess that on the Instagram site. Do a carbon audit of how your practice goes by the end of June, and then look at how you can reduce and offset that by the end of the year, so that we can all say we have decarbonised our practice and the way we do and what we do, and you can do it for yourself as well. So then the next one that people are talking about is, okay, divest. Let's get our books in order. Let's work out, we put our money in places. So quite simply, we can move our money to places that are supporting positive action on climate change. And that money sits in our bank accounts, it sits in our superannuation, and it's with our insurance. Like, everyone has all these things, and we can go and make better choices. I know it's harder than just saying just move, but it is possible, and it's a process that can be done. So where to start? Marketforces.org.au's got a heap of information about all of that and what all those people are doing. Technical. The next thing is technical. Get your projects in order. So, simple steps today for better buildings. The most simplest and best one is build smaller and smarter. And then go fabric first, get better thermal envelopes. Get off the gas, make it all electric because gas is a fossil fuel. Electric can be done renewably. Reduce concrete, cement and specify much better content. And reduce steel, timber substitutes where possible. Design for less waste, design for less in fact, but know how your building goes together and reduce and recycle. And then reduce embodied energy of buildings. So I don't know how many people here have ever even done an analysis of the embodied energy of their building. I know I haven't done one on mine, and we're about to do one on the project that I'm working on in Newcastle. So it's kind of like I don't know what those targets mean. So let's have a look at it. Let's start making this part of our language and know what we're doing. And operation, I think people have been concentrating on how to reduce the amount of energy in operation, but I think we can all do a whole lot better. And then, create a sustainability or regeneration action plan, which is about sort of including all of this. So I think what we all need to do is work together. We're working together to create templates for people to say, well, there's a whole lot of stuff we can do. What can we do? When do we do it? And how do we do it? And I think that's an overly ambitious thing of doing it on Earth Day, but that was sort of one of the ideas. So people Miller-Hull Partnership, a group in Washington State, USA, who did the Bullitt Centre in Seattle, and they've got a sustainability action plan. Foster's Partners have got one. This website, which is through the AIA, the 2030 in the AIA, has got a huge amount of action plans that you can have a look at. But we're going to try and put together templates for small, medium and large practices. The net operational carbon, there's a huge amount of work all available. This is from the London Energy Transformative Initiative, and they've got not only sort of this nice little diagram, but they've got design books, they've got technical books, all free and all downloadable. In the UK, REBA has sort of put this together. They've issued this 2030 climate challenge, and they've looked at operational energy, embodied energy, and potable water use for domestic buildings and non-domestic buildings. They're looking at current benchmarks and future benchmarks that are much less. And this is kind of what, it sounds like it's too mechanistic, too numbers driven for architects, but we are responsible for this CO2. We've got to do something about it. We've got to know this and then work creatively with it. But that's kind of what we've got to be doing, really working hard. And there's heaps of stuff here. ASBEC, which is the Australian Sustainable Built Environment Council's got heaps of stuff, and they're doing some really interesting reports, again, all free on the website. Beyond Zero Emissions is a group in Melbourne who've been working on this stuff for over 10 years. They had a plan, they launched in 2010, how to decarbonise the whole of Australia by 2020. Anyway, and they've been working on a whole lot of other really interesting transition plans, like a plan for Collie, a town in WA, of 9,000 people with 1,200 people working with coal, either digging it up or burning it. And they've spent a whole year working with a whole lot of opposing people in the town to come up with a unified plan that will transition all of those people into 1,750 jobs of the future, recycling batteries, building PVs, CLT timber, other jobs that will be there in the future. And they're doing the same in the Hunter Valley at the moment. Every building counts. It came out by the Property Council and Green Building Council. They're promoting a whole bunch of different approaches. It's coming down the line, so it's better to be in charge of it rather than being whipped by it. There's a whole bunch of people who can help you understand the carbon. The footprint company's got all these calculators. GBC's lining up to say all 6-star buildings need to have it. eTool's another great tool for helping do. Oops, sorry. And then get involved. This change doesn't happen on its own. We need people to get involved, and there's a whole bunch of different things, and we need to get better politics. And climate, Zali Steggall is putting a climate bill up. We need a climate bill. It might not be perfect, but it's bloody good. It's so much better, and I think everyone needs to ring their politicians and say, vote for it, because we need it. The National Climate Assembly, was down in Melbourne, and they have got huge coverage. There was over 2,000 people attending the council, and City of Sydney have converted. They've got they were doing a women and C40 Women in Climate at the end of March, beginning of April, and they're hosting now the second National Climate Emergency Summit. So try and get along to that. It's really great. And then we need to advocate for better frameworks. We need better planning, better building codes, and better professional standards, which will be coming. But most important, we need regenerative transformation. I think that's what's the most exciting and lies at the heart of the Architects Declare. And regenerative principles, what is regeneration? I think that basically it's really about understanding a lot of what Uncle Max was talking about there, about deeply understanding the places that we're in, understand the systems, the energy with that, and working together with that to create positive outcomes, or identifying the potential and realising that, and co-evolving mutually with nature and people and everyone together. I think that there's a course that Regenesis has done this, they've been working in this space for 25 years in the States, and they understand regeneration better than anyone I know. I did this course last year, it was so fantastic, and they're running another one this year in Sydney and Melbourne from April to July. There's also a lot of other things that help. I've been very involved in the Living Future Institute, which developed the Living Building Challenge and is promoting a whole lot of biophilic design. There's biomimicry, One Planet Living. All of these things are really great tools to help you design better. And people have been, actions, I think in regenerative design, it's about there's nested systems. We operate at many levels all at the same time. So some people think it's a waste of time for us to individually do little tweaks about our own carbon footprint. Why would we bother when the government is so in charge of so much more, and it's so much more important and so much more effective? But I agree that I think that we've got to operate from ourselves. We can't change the world if we don't change ourselves. And I think by changing ourselves, we get really empowered and we can change, therefore go outwards and change other things as well. And I think that really it's about mindsets. This is from Donella Meadows, and she talks about it's not the thing about making change. The biggest important thing is mindsets, not access to information or rules. And this came from Mary McKillop. We can't do everything, but we can't do nothing, but we can do something. And I think everyone's got to just start somewhere and do something and work together. And if we work together, it'll be really well. I'm also chair of 1 Million Women, and our mission is to empower millions of women to live a zero carbon life through everyday actions. And we've released an app, and there's a whole bunch of little actions you can do every single day that are really quite joyful and fabulous and have a really positive impact. You know, and what if it's all a hoax? Well, gosh, wouldn't that be fantastic? But in the meantime, we can just create a better world. So I think we should do about that.
Thank you.